Well, tonight the Redskins face the 49ers out at FedEx Field. Thought we'd have Trevor Matich in, as we always do, to talk about all the Redskins. Trevor, I got some stuff I got to ask you. I got some stuff that I want to know, because when you look at what RG3 said after the loss to the Eagles, he said, and I quote, "You have to give credit where credit is due to Philly. They did a good job of scheming us up. Obviously, we're able to run the ball effectively, but in the passing game, they kind of had us. They knew what was coming before it was coming." Now, some have looked at that statement and said, well, that's sort of a backhanded slap at the Shanahans because the coaching and the call playing was too predictable. You have been among those who have said that you don't particularly care for the play calling that has been seen this year. So is RG3 right?
RG3 in his content has a great point. RG3 in saying it was absolutely wrong. And when I heard him say that, it made my skin crawl. Because as a player, you kind of understand where people are coming from. And what impression I got when he said that was that it cemented and clarified for everybody who was listening that RG3's first priority, at least this is what I would think if I were sitting there as a player listening to him, his first priority is not his teammates. His first priority is not his team. His first priority, according to that statement, is his brand. And he cannot allow his brand to be sullied with any thought that he might not be Superman. Now, whether or not that's true is a different question, but that's the impression that I got, and that's the impression he gave. And even if somebody else is at fault for something like this, you do not, as a franchise quarterback, go into a post-game press conference and not just subtly suggest that there are some greater problems, but blatantly point the finger at someone else for your own inadequacies in the game.
Let me follow up then, because there are also reports, these come from Mike Silver over at the NFL Network. He says that inside the building, when you talk to people familiar with the situation, they perceive RG3 is kind of insecure about Kirk Cousins, and that's why he rushed back and demanded that he play before he was ready. And clearly, when we look at the early games, he wasn't ready because he was worried about Kirk Cousins. That seems to be a guy, again, not very interested in looking out for the best interest of the team.
No, if there's one thing RG3 is not, that is dumb. Or he's a very smart guy. He understands that Cousins was a mid-round draft choice, and they mortgaged the farm by trading 4 draft choices for RG3. So there's no threat that Cousins would do anything to him. The off-season was all in for week 1. It was branded. There were T-shirts. There was a documentary. There were all kinds of things. And when the team came out and said, look, we're shooting for week 1, but it might not work out that way. We'll see how his knee responds. He and his side, his representatives and his supporters came directly associated with him, including members of his family, came out and contradicted the team. This is about the brand of RG3, or at least that seems to be what it is now. So RG3 now has the unenviable task of trying to convince his teammates that it is about them and it's not about the brand, and in order to do that, he needs to suppress the brand. But the brand has been what has been all important in what it seems like he's trying to protect as he speaks publicly.
Trevor Matich is our guest. He's our Redskins analyst, and tonight is Monday Night Football. It was seen at the beginning of the season as hopefully a clash of NFC Titans, the 49ers versus the Redskins here at FedEx. Of course, 49ers have done okay, I think 7-4, still in first place in a weak division. But I got to ask you about tonight's options for the Redskins against the 49ers. They are still kind of vulnerable, and it seems to me, matchup-wise, the Redskins could do a pretty good job handling these guys.
Yeah, fortunately, the 49ers have taken a fall off as well. And this is where, in RG3's defense, you look at Cam Newton, the Carolina Panthers quarterback. Came in his first year, lit the league on fire.
Thank you. I was going to point this out. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Well, he lit the league on fire, and then his second year he fell off.
Right.
And part of that, I think, was that he was, acting like Superman. He was pointing to his chest.
And now
the
Panthers have won 8 games in a row. And then Kaepernick, the 49ers quarterback, I know he's in his third year, but his first year he didn't play. So really this is his second year, and he has fallen off. Is this kind of a sophomore slump that RG3 might be having?
It's less of a sophomore slump for the most part than that teams, defenses have a full year of film on you now, and they can see how to scheme against you. So what you need to do is have enough humbleness to know that you need to adapt, and you need to listen to your coaches because they've been in the league longer than you have. And typically, once a quarterback gets that point, then he's able to adapt himself. And so that's one of the reasons the 49ers are vulnerable tonight. They don't throw the ball down the field very well. Kaepernick is one of the least accurate in terms of completion percentage quarterbacks in the league this year. And so the Redskins defense does have a chance to go from heinous to merely awful and give them a chance to win.
Meanwhile, I just want to correct it. They're 6-4 in third place.
Yeah,
sorry, and I was confusing them with the Colts because I was thinking of Andrew Luck, who was also a sophomore and not lighting it up the way he did last year.
All right, so what about the Shanahans? How do you see them coming out at the end of the year?
Wilson only wants to talk about the controversy.
There is
awesome.
controversy about it. I mean, they're not winning, so we get to ask questions. That's what we do.
Well, if they finish in last place this year, won't it be 3 of their 4 years they finished in last place in the division?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a very good record.
Nah, not very good.
Not when you have one of the premier quarterbacks in the league.
Theoretically, although in their favor, the 2-year salary cap hit because of the Hainsworth situation limited their ability to sign free agents. RG3 trade limited their ability now to get a high draft choice last year. And so there are things that are in their favor, and in Mike Shanahan's favor. They have changed the culture of this team. So there are good signs, but the problem is, even though the offense is moving forward in a positive way, the defense has been regressing, and that ultimately is also on the head coach's shoulders. This is an important game for him tonight, Mike Shanahan. This is a nationally televised Monday Night Football showcase for the direction of this franchise.
So you're Daniel Snyder. It's the end of the season. Redskins have a losing record. Do you keep him one more year?
Absolutely, and I give him a year extension because the Redskins' biggest problem at head coach has not been a lack of capability. It has been a lack of continuity. There's been too much turnover. The average head coach under Dan Snyder has had about 2 years, and then they brought in a new coach, a new staff, a new system, new everything, and started over again. And I think it's important to allow continuity to have a chance.
Even if your premier quarterback is not all that enamored with them?
Well, you've got to ask yourself who would RG3 choose to be his next coach? Who would he select? Right?
Oh,
well, no,
you know what? He could
to select that. He has a say in it. He can say what he likes, but he's the player. He's been in the league 2 years, and the truth of it is, at some point, a 2-year player needs to say, "I have a lot to learn. I will sit back and learn what I can before I start to throw my weight around."
All right.
I can see it now.
They should keep Shanahan, and they should extend him right now.
He'll be the first playing coach in modern history.
All right, thank you, Trevor. We greatly appreciate it.
He'll be his own head coach. That's what RG3 really. He can do it all. He'll be up in the booth watching. Thanks, Trevor.
Got to avoid that temptation. All right, guys.